Hi everyone, so in this video we're going to be reviewing how to manually upload data into Bitwave. Now I've uploaded probably hundreds of templates in my lifetime so far to Bitwave, so it's definitely an art to get the data to upload perfectly every single time, but in this video I'm going to show you all the tips and tricks that I've learned over the years using the system, so hopefully you can upload without issues every single time. So for this example, I'm uploading data from Confirmo. It's a crypto payment processor. And Bitwave in particular, they don't have an integration with Confirma, so I'm going to be uploading all this data manually to the system. And it includes deposits, withdrawals, some trades, a whole bunch of stuff in here. So hopefully we'll get to cover a lot of ground. So here's an example of the upload template. Pretty much every subledger that supports manual uploads is going to have some kind of CSV template upload that you have to fill out, and then you go ahead and upload into their system. And this is what Bitwaves looks like here. Lots of columns that do a lot of things, but you don't have to necessarily fill out every column. So we're going to start with column A, which is ID. And so the ID needs to be a unique identifier for every single transaction. And so if you think of each row here, think unique identifier. And so what I've done here in this remote contact ID, I actually haven't never used this column. The numbers you see here are more for ways to, or it's like an increment to get column A to be unique. If you take a look at the formula here, I just have some text and then I concatenate the number that's increasing by 1 every time. Now, the copy tab is the actual copy that I end up uploading to the system, and you'll notice column B here is empty. So this is just more so for putting together the template and doing it every single month. So yeah, column A, unique identifier. Column B, I'll be honest, I've never used this column and I'm not quite sure what it does, but for purposes of putting this template together, it's just the incrementer here. Column C is the amount of the token that you want to upload for this transaction. And I said token, but you can also upload USD as well. So column D here, amount ticker, is just the ticker of the token or the fiat that you're trying to upload. So you notice I'm actually uploading a bunch of USD because that's what's happening within the Confirmo account. But of course, we are in crypto, so there's BTC, ETH, basically any token that Bitwave support, you can just go ahead and put the ticker here in column D. Now, if you're not sure what the ticker is in Bitwave, if it's a tail network or just not a popular one, just go ahead and ask them and they'll be able to tell you the correct ticker that you should go ahead and put here. So column C and D very much go together, but just know you can also upload USD as well. Now, one quick pro tip for column C, just to get the numbers in the right format, if you're using Google Sheets, typically go to number and then automatic. Maybe I'll expand the decimal places out a little bit, but should be in the automatic here. This just gets rid of any funky formatting, and I found that when you do the automatic format, then you can upload it into Bitwave much more easily, and you don't really get a lot of issues. So don't do like accounting format or something. Basically, don't have any dollar signs here. Even if you are uploading USD, just go ahead and do automatic, and you should have no problems. Okay, now columns E and F are related as well. And so let's say this isn't USD. Let's say it's Bitcoin or ETH. And if you want to upload a specific price to be attached to the transaction, you would go ahead and do that here. And when I say price, I mean the fair market value. So let's say this was 1 BTC, and you wanted to go ahead and give that a fair value of 50,000 USD. This is how you would show that within this upload template. So cost sticker, that's going to be some kind of fiat currency, so USD or euros, Great British pounds, etc. And then the cost is just that the translated amount of the token, but just in whatever currency you would like. So normally I don't really use cost or cost ticker, but it can be super helpful if you just have like set prices that you've already booked within your ERP or just a set price you want to use, then definitely go ahead and use these two columns here. Columns G and H also related. If there's a fee for the transaction, then you can just go ahead and put that here. So like any ETH gas fees, you can go ahead and put the token and then also put what ticker. So again, ETH, BTC, etc. For this example, we didn't really need to do cost or fees at all, and so I left these columns blank. Time is the time you want your transaction to be uploaded into the system, and Bitwave is automatically going to take whatever time here, and it's going to place it into its system at the local, like the time that the instance is set up in. So if your instance was set up in Pacific time, then this would upload September 30th, 0 midnight Pacific time. And so just be careful here if you need to, like, if there's any cutoff issues with dates, just make sure you're uploading the timepiece correctly, because that can definitely cause issues if the wrong time has been uploaded. Now, that being said, sometimes you do want to adjust the time. So just a pro tip in general within Bitwave, you always want your deposits to come before your withdrawals. In this particular instance as well. And so these are all, I call them just customer payments, but if there's any withdrawals that are happening on the same date, you want the deposits to come first, or else Bitwave is going to throw you a cost basis error and say, hey, there's not enough tokens in order to execute this withdrawal, so it's going to give you an error. And so that's why I have this adjusted time column here. I'm just kind of arbitrarily creating a time, and I'm just arbitrarily putting the withdraws after the deposits. So this is very specific, but I've just found that if I do this, I know I'm not going to get any issues, and I'm not going to get the cost basis errors that show up in the inventory views. And this will, do me well every single time. So I created this separate column here. When I do the actual upload, I of course take that out and I just copy and paste in this adjusted time. But just to show you sort of how I do it, because within Google Sheets, it's really easy to do a specific date time format. It's automatically going to default to midnight, and then you just layer in the time you want. Blockchain ID is the transaction hash. Now, you'll notice that this is blank here. This column can actually be left blank. If you have the actual transaction hash, if it's an on-chain transaction, great, you can put that here. But it follows the same rule as the ID column here. It just needs to be unique. So if you have a transaction that has multiple lines, I would not put the same transaction hash here, because basically every part of the transaction needs to be on its own row. And so just don't do the same transaction hash for each one. You can use something like I did in column B here, where you add some kind of concatenation, or just add an incrementer, so you know it's going to be unique every time. But I'm not going to do anything here, because I can leave this blank, and Bitwave just is going to automatically create its own blockchain ID in the back end. It's not going to be a real transaction hash, but it will be a unique identifier. Column L is the memo. So if you want to put in what the transaction is for, you can go ahead and do that. This is going to show up in the memo field in Bitwave in the UI. So it's good to add some description here. Column M is the transaction type. And by this, I mean, is this an inflow or is this an outflow? And so the Bitwave nomenclature here is any inflows are deposit, any outflows are withdrawal. And then you can also do trades, and those are trade acquire, trade dispose, and then there's also a fee for the trade, it's trade fee. And so I don't have any fees here, but if you did on a trade, that's what you would put here under transaction type. So this column here is super critical. I have messed up a lot of uploads by not spelling withdrawal correctly, or not spelling deposit, whatever. So just make sure that this is correct. It's not case sensitive, so it can be uppercase, lowercase, whatever. Just make sure that this is accurate here. Okay, the next column is account ID. And so this is the wallet into which this transaction is going to be uploaded. So if you go to Bitwave's wallet page and you select the wallet that you want to upload the transaction to, in the little pop-up window that comes up, it's going to show you the wallet ID. And that's exactly what you want to put here. So don't put the wallet name, don't put the wallet address. You want to put the unique account ID that Bitwave has assigned to your wallet natively within their system. In this example, it's all going to the same wallet, so it's going to be all the same wallet ID. Okay, now comes some of the fun parts here. So there's contact ID and category ID. So the cool thing about Bitwave is that you can automatically categorize your manual transactions when you upload them. So you don't have to upload a transaction and then go in, click it open, put the chart of accounts. You can do that directly within the upload, which is what makes this upload so great. And so similar to how I said for the account ID, you have to find the unique identifier for the wallet. You have to do that for the contact and category as well. So in Bitwave, if you go to the panel here, there's under accounting, there's categories and contacts. And so, for example, we're on the categories page here, have it blurred out, but this would be an example category like gas fees or, I don't know, like contract labor. And what you would want to grab is the Bitwave ID right here. And it looks the same for contacts as well. You want to grab the Bitwave ID, and that's what you would put into category and contact ID. Just be careful with formatting here. Sometimes when you paste it, it adds in like a bunch of spaces, but you want to, get rid of that and just have the clean, trimmed version of the text here. And so when you upload the transaction, when you open up the dropdown in the UI, it's going to have the correct contact and the correct category that you've already specified, which is really cool and can help save you a lot of time. Column Q here is tax exempt. This is either true or false. If you have a transaction that you don't want any realized gain loss to be recognized on, you would put true. But for most of the time, it's probably going to be, you do want do want to recognize the realized gain loss, so it's going to be false. All caps here, and then you should be good to go. Now, the last couple of columns here, I don't really use that often. Now, I do want to show an example of a trade because that could be very relevant. Let me group these here. So if you're trying to book a trade, a couple of things that you need to be aware of. So first thing is that the trades are split up onto different rows. So and then in a trade, at the basic steps here, you're acquiring an asset and you're disposing of an asset. So let's say you're trading ETH for USDC, you're disposing of the ETH and you're acquiring the USDC. In my transactions here, some examples, I am getting rid of USD, I'm converting it to USDC, getting rid of Bitcoin or getting rid of USD, and then I'm getting BTC. So you see how the pattern kind of works here. The asset you're getting rid of, you put trade dispose. The asset you're acquiring, you put trade acquire. And if there is a fee, there would be a separate row here. I don't know, let's say there was a fee of $1 USD, you would go ahead and put trade fee here. The rest of the columns are the same. You still need a unique ID. You can put a memo if you want. Still need to put the account ID number. Now, usually leave contact and category blank because you don't really need that. Still false. The important thing with trades is that you have to fill in trade ID right here. And so it's basically grouping any trades that are within the same trade are within the same group. And so, for example, these first 3 rows here, that would be considered all one trade that occurs, and they all need to have the same trade ID. So what I would do here is I just did an example like 8.1, and then all 3 of the components of the trade have that trade ID here. If we move on to the next trade, I use 8.2, and so Bitwave knows to group this into a trade, and then when you upload it, it just gets uploaded as a trade, normally would be within Bitwave. And so these trade IDs have to be unique, not per row, but per trade. And so that's what you see right here. It can probably just, I like to do it by like a month, like 8 point whatever, but you can really put anything here as long as you group them successfully together. So that's important there. Just wanted to mention that. That way you can quickly just upload trades. Now, the rest of the columns here, again, to be honest, I don't really use those. I think description is pretty much the same field as memo field, so you could put those 2 together if you wanted. You could add in a from address and to address if you want to get really specific on your transactions, but again, these columns are optional. And then also grouping, I think this is more so for internal transfers. I have to pull up their documentation, but if you're trying to group transactions together in an internal transfer, I think you would do pretty much what we did for the trades right here. Just put the same group ID for transactions that span multiple rows, but it's all the same group, or it's the same internal transfer, etc. That's how you would do that. But again, optional column. Okay, now once I go ahead and fill out this template, usually what I do is I make a copy of it and I just clean it up. So for example, I hard code all the amounts here for ID. I get rid of the incrementer. I go ahead and do that format automatic thing I mentioned. The time, I paste in the adjusted time, but again, I still call the column time. And yeah, I just make sure everything's spelled correctly, the right IDs are used, etc. And then you just go ahead and download file, download CSV, and then upload in their transactions and then import right here. So, okay, hopefully that helps. Let me know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching. Have a great day.